Hi, I'm Mike with Craft Supplies USA, and today we're going to take an in-depth look at the Laguna Revo 2436 lathe. Building on the popular design of the Revo 1836, Laguna has scaled up the capacity and added a few new features to create the Revo 2436. Let's take a closer look starting at the bottom and working our way up. It has thick cast iron legs that dampen vibration, and the extra weight down low makes the lathe more stable. On the bottom, there are 4 adjustable feet so you can level it up on uneven floors. Inside each leg is a ledge to add a shelf. I'll make one from a 2x10, then stack sandbags on it to stabilize the lathe even more. There are several machined areas on the legs for attaching optional accessories. Here on the bottom are attachment points for the Laguna wheel set. At the top you can attach a tool rack, bed extension, or tailstock swing away. Next up is the lathe bed. It's constructed of heavy gauge welded steel, kind of like a torsion box. It's really strong, and we were surprised at how well it dampens vibration. The bedways are 1/2 inch thick steel machined to an almost mirror polish, and the banjo and tailstock glide across with very little effort. Next, let's take a look at the cast iron sliding headstock. This lathe can turn a full 24-inch diameter workpiece. To give you an idea just how big that is, here's an 18-inch blank, and here's a monster 24-inch blank. To be able to turn a 24-inch bowl, you need a big motor. This lathe has a strong 3 horsepower motor driven by a 2-step pulley with a 3/4 inch wide poly groove drive belt. When turning larger pieces, you want to change to the slower speed pulley to give you the most torque. We wish there was one more lower pulley step, but the 3 horsepower motor kept up with all but the heaviest cut. The motor is powered and controlled by a variable frequency drive that runs on 220 volt single phase power. Just below the controller are a couple 220 volt outlets specifically for Laguna's 220 volt accessory lamps. It would be a lot more useful if these were 110 outlets so we could plug in a drill, lamps, or other accessories. Next, let's take a look at the controls. Laguna has some of the nicest looking controls in the industry. Here on the headstock you have a bright digital speed readout, variable speed control, start-stop buttons, forward-reverse switch, and a large emergency stop button. Another big feature on this lathe is the remote control panel. Where most lathe remotes are just a start-stop button, this one has all the same controls found on the headstock minus the digital speed readout. The remote can either be mounted on the tailstock or down here on the leg. And now because the remote has a variable speed drive, both controls can't be active at the same time, so there's a selector switch on the back of the headstock. It's not the most convenient spot, but it's still easy to get to. But for added safety, the emergency stop buttons are active on both controls at all times. Having a remote control makes turning more convenient, but it's also a lot safer. I don't have to reach my arm around a large spinning blank, and I can stay over here out of harm's way when running a blank up to speed. On the outboard side of the headstock is a 14, 36, and 48 position spindle indexing system and a small, cylindrical shaped handwheel. We wish I had a full-size handwheel, but the position of the motor and the indexing system only allows for a small one. The headstock itself is made from cast iron and it can be positioned anywhere along the bed. However, when turning large pieces, we always recommend parking the headstock right over the legs. You'll find there is much less vibration, and this goes for any lathe with this feature. On the inboard side, it has an extended nose that provides 3.5 inches of clearance from the headstock. The spindle has a 1 1/4 by 8 TPI thread and a number 2 Morse taper. This is all mounted in 2 heavy seal bearings. This red button here on the front is the spindle lock. It's spring loaded, so you have to hold it in when removing a chuck. That can be kind of a pain when you need 2 hands. So in that case, use the spindle indexing system to lock the spindle. Just remember to disengage it before turning on the lathe. Next, let's look at the tool rest and banjo. The banjo is made out of cast iron and has a wide base, and the long handle makes it easy to lock it firmly in place. The tool rest is held in place using a clamp style mechanism, so it won't mar the tool rest post. The lathe comes with a 12-inch tool rest that has a 6mm hardened steel edge. The hard edge resists nicks and dings so your tools always glide across smoothly. Moving on, let's look at the tailstock. It's made from cast iron that glides across the polished bed easily, and it has a long locking handle so you can really lock it firmly in place. The tailstock quill has a No. 2 Morse taper and has 4.5 inches of travel. The quill is laser etched in both imperial and metric sizes, and when you wind it all the way in, it self-ejects the center. There's one more detail I'd like to show you. On each end of the lathe bed there's a safety stop pin that helps keep you from removing your tailstock and accidentally dropping it on the floor. The lathe comes with a 4-prong drive center, a 3-inch faceplate, and a double bearing revolving cup center that has a removable cone attachment. And there's a handy little center caddy built right into the tailstock. There's also another one that can be mounted on either leg. Both are great because they keep your accessories out of the way. As you can see, this is a huge lathe. Weighing in over 530 pounds, this lathe has enough power for even the largest turnings. If you'd like to know more about the Laguna Revo 2436, give us a call at 1-800-551-8876. We're the experts when it comes to wood turning. If you liked the video, give it a thumbs up and comment below. Also, be sure to check out our entire selection of wood turning supplies at woodturnerscatalog.com.